With our loopable animation created, we can now start looking at how to draw all of the in-betweens for each one of our animation frames. This is what we have so far. It's looking pretty good. It's pretty choppy though, and that's to be expected. We only have a handful of keyframes in here. So the goal is to be able to go in and have an animation frame on every single frame inside of our timeline. So we have to interpolate and create all the in-betweens now. And the timing of these in-betweens is super important. Before we start going in and laying down some strokes and physically changing and creating some drawings, let's remember where and when this object is going to be moving the slowest and the fastest. Now, if we take a step back and look at the movement itself, we have a great compression here. So the spring gets compressed on the down pose, and then it goes up towards the peak. So in every sense, on frame 4, this is the bottom of the trough, and this is the peak of the trough. At the bottom and at the top, our character is going to be moving the slowest, right? So we want to make sure that we have some pretty tight spacing around frame 4 to facilitate the subtle little slowing, if you will, of those areas, as well over here on frame 10. It's going to start to slow down at frame 10 and then quickly go down into frame 13. Let's do this real fast. I'm not going to do it for the entire animation, mostly because the first half is identical to the second half, and I know that you can figure that out pretty fast. Let's go ahead and do it real fast. I'm going to focus my energy and attention on this down pose. Now, in here, I want to look at frame 3 and frame 5, okay? Let's look at the in-between frames on frame 3 and frame 5. These are kind of important frames for us, so they're almost like breakdown poses. These are secondary keyframes that really establish the timing. Luckily, there's not a lot of in-betweens in between all of these keyframes, so we don't have a lot of work to do. But let's start looking at how we can pose the character to get the result that we're after. I think I'm going to use the interpolation tool in this moment. The interpolation tool is a great way for us to very quickly start throwing down some frames. And as we've explored before, the first thing that we got to do is select the 2 keyframes that we want to interpolate between. Let's select the drawing. And now we're going to turn on the multi-frame editing tool, which allows us to see the target. So this is the selected ones are the drawings on frame 1, and the ones behind are the drawings on frame 4. And I want to figure out what frame 3 is going to look like. So let's grab the interpolation tool and left click and drag and start to see where that spacing is going to go. Now you have to make some decisions here before you left click and mouse up. The interpolation tool is only going to give us this magical transformation while we're clicking and dragging. And I'm focusing all of my energy and attention on the knee, specifically that gray knee. And if I was to put the interpolation right here, the in-between, evenly spaced between the first frame and the 4th frame, I'd get a real linear movement. To get that easing, to get the slowing effect as it goes into the trough of our animation curve, I think I'm going to put the keyframe a little bit in here. Kind of an overlapping keyframe. Let's do the exact same thing between frames 4 and 7. Grab the interpolation tool, and now I'm just going to go forward a little bit. Right about in there. I'm looking at that gray knee, so maybe right about in there. All right, let's see what it looks like. Let's turn off multi-frame editing just so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. Yeah, so slow in there, and then it's going to go fast. Slow in there, and then boop, real fast in here. And as we get towards the top, it's going to slow down again. So let's do the exact same thing between 9 and 10. Let's turn our multi-frame editing back on. Of course, the one in the background, you can very easily see way out over here. This is that peak, okay? So that's the target. Let's go in and with the interpolation tool, figure out where frame 9 is going to be. Oops. Let's select all of my strokes. Oops, there we go. Excuse me. Somewhere right around there. I'm looking at that knee. This is where it starts on frame on frame 7. Here it is on frame 10, so I think I want my knee to be right around in there. FYI, this is very normal for the interpolation tool. This happens often. You get these weird kind of warping. It's by design, but generally speaking, well, it's not by design, it's just kind of how the tool works at sometimes. But generally speaking, that's an easy fix. I can just go in, just with my individual dot mode, reconstitute what the drawing is supposed to look like. Let's turn off multi-frame editing so we can see where the in-betweens are. I'm only seeing the past. Let's look at the future. There it is. And now I can grab the shape and start customizing it to the way I think it needs to be. It's not going to be perfect in this particular moment, but that's okay. Looks like I've lost some volume, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go, something like that. Yeah, still a little bit small. Let's grab it, scale it up just a little bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's do it one more time to get the timing of that top just kind of absolutely perfect. Let's return to multi-frame editing. Use the interpolation tool. Oops, excuse me, I had too many things selected. This happens all the time. Yes, first select the first thing we gotta do is we gotta select, didn't grab the box select tool on accident. There we go. And now we can grab that second frame, multi-frame editing on, and go into the interpolation tool and start working. Yeah, this happens more than I would like it to, but in this particular moment, see how the interpolation tool is just, well, it's just doing what it wants to do. This is pretty normal. I've seen this a million times with the interpolation tool. It happens, let's just say. Maybe that's the best way to say it. It just happens. But that's okay. Luckily for us, we have an entire system here that will allow us to very quickly rotate and move all these animation frames. Here's Pat's pro tip of the day. Love the interpolation tool as long as it breaks. Once it breaks and starts doing some really weird, wacky things, you will spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out, or I have spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out why it's breaking. It would have just taken me, 2 minutes just to go in and draw the in-between. So save yourself some headache and just draw the in-between. And I'm going to do that for frame 11. I'm going to take frame 10 and I'm going to duplicate it, just go forward one frame, and now I can start working. Let's turn our onion skinning back on, turn multi-frame editing off, and we can get a real good understanding of how I need to edit this frame to get the result that I'm after. And I think what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just increase my onion skinning ever so slightly. That way I can see the future by one frame and see the past by one frame. So this is frame 10, frame 11, and then frame 13 is back there down on the ground. So this is frame 13. So now I need to figure out how I want my knee to be on frame 11. And it's going down over here. So let's do this. Let's go in and I'm going to, let's do this. I'm going to use my cursor, my 3D cursor. There we go. Back to box select. Use the rotation command here. And it's going down in this particular moment, right? Remember, the blue is the future. So let's just have the spacing be like that. There we go. Change the location of my 3D cursor to the center of the knee. Now I can rotate this a little bit like that. Same with this guy. Put my 3D cursor kind of right there. Box select. I didn't grab the box select tool on accident. Grab it, start getting the pose. I'm not quite where I want the pose to be. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's much better. See how it looks like it's slowly bending? Not in love with the pose yet, but that's okay. And it goes down over that way. All right, let's play the animation, see what we get. Yeah, those small little breakdown frames is really establishing the timing. I can see that it gives me the illusion that there's a little bit of slowness as we take that step. And I'm liking that. Right, so a little slow. It's just a small little movement in there. And I'm looking at this back knee. I apologize. I'm looking right here. All of my attention is going towards the knees at the moment. And as I flip through this, just a small little movement in the knee, which is going to give the illusion that this is moving pretty slow. Same thing over here at the top of the arc. That gray knee is not moving a whole lot, which is by design, because we want it to look like it's slowly moving as the hips go across the top of its movement arc. I'd continue applying this principle and idea for the rest of my keyframes, establishing a really good sense of timing where we have the spacing of our drawings be relatively tight at the top of my movement arc and down here at the bottom. This is going to reinforce the idea of weight and squash and stretch inside of our walk cycle animation.